Hey friends, welcome back to our channel. In this video, I'd like to answer some comments from our previous video. We talked about our stories and how we end up towing with our minivan. So we've received many comments and some of them actually make me realize that I overlooked some details that could be useful information for you. So I'd like to fill in those gaps. Before we get started, I want to re-emphasize that in our videos, we're not going to talk about how to set up to tow minivan or encourage you to tow with a minivan. Those are all technical issues. I'm not a technician. I'm not able to give you information on that regard. We're here to share our experience and hopefully it's helpful for your research so that you can make your own decision. First of all, I'd like to correct myself. In the previous video, I think I said our towing setup is specific to Airstream because Airstream is aerodynamic. That is wrong. Our setup is not specific to Airstream. Okay, let's get to the comments. Insurance. Many commenters are curious about it. Our insurance covers it. We are fully aware that we have an non-traditional. Sorry. I'm fully aware that we have a non-traditional towing setup. So we asked specifically and they said yes. The other day I was in Ottawa RV show and there was an insurance company there. So I talked to the lady. I asked her, do you know Cam-Am? And are you familiar with Andy's towing setup? And do you cover it? She was like, oh my God, Andy's towing setup is next to none. That's literally what she said. I was a little bit surprised by her reaction, but yes, they cover it too. And she raved about their test drive experience. It was Tesla S model with the trailer 27 or 28 feet Airstream. She's from a trailer family, meaning her dad, his sisters, herself, they all have trailers. So she's very familiar with RV towing. And she was like, oh my God, the test drive, you don't feel a thing. You know, when you go down hills with the trailer, you usually feel that gentle push from the trailer, and you just don't feel that with his setup. I was like, yeah, we're set up by Cam-Am, and I didn't know that we're supposed to feel the push by the RV. We don't feel a thing. I was really surprised by her reaction, and yes, they cover it too. So do insurance cover it? I don't know. I didn't call every insurance company. If their insurance company covers it, yes. Some comments said insurance won't cover it. I'm guessing maybe they watch our video and call some insurance company to check about our setup and they got the negative answer maybe. Not sure. So if you're curious, you gotta call and check with the insurance company. Many of you talk about the wear and tear of transmission, brake, tire, suspension. We're well aware of extra wear and tear because of the towing. And we're curious too. So at Cam-Am, they have a 2014 Caravan with over 300,000 tow mileage. Original transmission, everything original except they changed the brake once. I don't expect our situation to be identical because we have different vehicles. We might have different driving habit, different terrain we travel to, and many other factors. But I consider that as a good reference, and we're really curious about how our car would handle this. However, I can share with you our situation right now. So just to build the baseline, even without the trailer, our habit with car maintenance is, those basic maintenance, and we also do check-in before and after a long road trip just to be sure. And that's how we do that with the trailer as well. The owner of the garage we use is a friend, and we have been going there for many years. Many vehicles, they're very familiar with how we use, and we let them know that we also tow with the Honda, and let us know if there's extra care we need or anything. Just keep a close eye on our vehicle. So far, we pulled 2,500 kilometers. I know it's a baby step. When we bring the vehicle to the garage, we didn't get any alarming usage of transmissions or brakes. Would they break tomorrow? I don't know. I don't predict the future. As for tires, last spring, when we changed from winter tire to four-season tires, the garage told us that this is probably your last season with these tires. At that time, we didn't have Airstream. Nobody knows, at least we and garage, we didn't know that the Airstream is coming. We didn't know we were towing. So that's their prediction. And the Airstream arrived in July, late July, and we had trips and everything with it. In the winter, when we switched to the winter tires, we were pretty sure we're just gonna toss those tires and get new ones for like 2024 spring. But the garage told us that there's still some mileage on the tires. Overall, in terms of the wear and tear of the car, we don't know, and we're very interested too. Somebody commented that if we drive over 60 miles per hour, we will have a tail wagging the dog situation. 60 miles per hour is around 97 kilometers per hour. So that made me realize that in the previous video, we kind of glanced over our driving habit. I just assume if I say everything is good, that's sufficient. Well, apologies for my assumption. So I'd like to fill you in with some backgrounds of how we drive. On 4-lane highway, like this way, 4-lane highway, we drive around 100 to 110 kilometers per hour. And on those 2-lane highway, we drive around 80 to 88 kilometers per hour. Of course, this is not absolute. We drive for the condition, slow down if necessary. And this is actually our driving habit with the trailer and without the trailer. In terms of how we travel, we feel like we're not so into the super fast driving, and it doesn't really make much difference in terms of arriving time for us either. So that's our comfort. Oh, and great mileage. So this is the speed we like to drive with and without the trailer. We never felt any swing when we change lane, when we turn right, turn left, going uphill. We don't feel the trailer is behind us, pulling us backwards, or like that kind of feeling. We don't have, when we go downhill, we don't feel the trailer is pushing us down. If the insurance lady didn't mention it, I had no idea people felt that. We've driven in rain, we've driven in the dark at night driving, uphill, downhill. We've driven in minor snow condition. The overall towing experience is we're in full control. I don't feel any swing, wagtail, anything like that. Somebody asked about abrupt braking. So how abrupt are you talking about? If you are asking like a deer suddenly run in front of our car and we have to brake, we didn't have that experience yet. So I don't know. Well, what we had experienced is like, on those 2-lane highways, and there's like the traffic light, and we're expecting to pass because it's green and suddenly turned yellow, and we had to stop, which normally I'd like more space, but we have to do a shorter space stop. No issue at all. Stop, start, didn't feel a thing. So that's the abrupt braking we had experience with, and we didn't have any issue with it. Some asked about a sharp turn. Again, how sharp are we talking about? Like, inside lane turn right, 90-degree turn, no issue at all. We're longer, so we would poke out a little bit more than normal driving and turn. No swing, no anything. We've done a small radius U-turn, like Ontario Farm. Sometimes they have a dead end and a U-turn, very comfortable. Does that count as a sharp turn? Like, it's hard to define. Like, different people might have different thoughts about how sharp that is. An interesting comment from a gentleman from UK mentioning that North American and UK have really different policies and stuff, which is very interesting to us. We've never really looked into what's the policy in UK and Europe, but we did hear that Europe and North America is quite different. And we heard, those are hearsay, you gotta double check, I'm not sure. We heard that they don't have a weight distribution system. Well, in that case, our setup wouldn't work at all. I mean, would that be the contributing factor that manifested in the policies in the end? I don't know. And is UK and Europe the same situation? I'm not sure. So if you are planning on traveling there, probably gotta do some research on that. Honestly, I really appreciate all the comments we received. These comments assure me of how great a towing system we have. I'm not saying this to give you a heart attack. Well, let me explain myself. When I read those comments, I see a lot of despise, righteous, or even anger. My question is, why? Why is our setup so agitating? And I think about all those encounters I had on the road, what people said to me, and how they said to me. Like one gentleman told me that I have a 150 and I wouldn't tow your trailer with it. I'm gonna use my 250 for safety. So I didn't think too much. I thought, okay, that's your choice. I didn't think too much. Now I think a little bit. Why wouldn't he? He probably knows something. He probably towed something similar size or even smaller and didn't have a good experience. Like the gentleman from North Bay who shared with us his story. He has a different brand of a trailer, but also 27 foot, and he towed with 150, which matches the traditional understanding. Tow vehicle heavier than the trailer, but he had a lot of sway. He didn't like the towing experience at all, and according to people's suggestion, he upgraded to an even heavier vehicle, and that sway greatly reduced, but he can still feel things when he tows. Now I think about this, I guess if you had a first-hand experience sitting behind the wheel and feeling that push that the insurance lady was mentioning when you go downhill, and all this swing when you change lanes, all that kind of going uphill, but I feel like the heavy trailer is pulling you backwards, that is terrifying. And somebody is saying they're towing with even smaller vehicle, yeah, I would agree with that. That really feels insane, isn't it? Therefore, from that scenario, the conclusion is you cannot tow with smaller vehicle. This is one way of deduction, but this is not the only way of deduction. How how Cam and Andy look at it, which we agree, if the tow vehicle must be heavier than the trailer, then why would the gentleman experience the sway in the first place? Maybe we need to re-examine this gold standard. So seriously, what are we talking about here? What is the center of focus? What are we debating? I think it can be simplified to a debating topic, like true or false. Tow vehicle must be heavier than the RV. Traditional understanding is that is true, and many of you support that opinion. Well, we agree with the KMM, where they says this is false. They propose that when it comes to towing, you gotta look at the tow vehicle, you gotta look at the towing setup. You also need to examine the RV itself. To support their argument, they first provide some background information. First, on towing histories, how the car has been evolving since the 60s and how the whole towing involved with it. And second, they also talk about the industry. How do the industry come up with this tow rating? By sharing these background informations, they propose that the number on the stickers are not as accurate as we usually think. What's their criteria in terms of achieving a tow vehicle? They look at the engine, torque, horsepower, the frame, axle, brake, suspension, and many other elements. And they also examine the towing setup, how different setups could affect the weight distribution, especially when you are turning, and also how is the situation with the RV, the specific RV that people choose. What's the brake? How is the tires and axles? In supporting each sub-argument, why we need to look at the engine, why we need to look at the frame. They support it with formulas, numbers, comparisons, different vehicles and setups, analysis sheet and chart. And on top of that, they also do real-life testing. There are two major forms. First is what we also show short clips in previous videos, that they do track test, comms and quick maneuvering. In this kind of form, you can test how the car and the trailer reacts in emergency situation, right? Sharp turn, quick stop, quick start. They test with many different cars and different trailers. And they also do long-term testing. There are two forms of long-term, right? When we talk about long-term, first is long distance. How is the long-distance drive look like with this towing setup? They did West Coast, they did East Coast, West Coast. Another one is real long-term. Can the vehicle last? What's the car like in 5 years, in 10 years? So they also do that too. I personally have never met a second person that talk about towing in such a manner. Like I was mentioning in the previous video, deep respect. Oh, I forgot to mention that what I just said was from my learning notes years ago when we were doing the research. So and I'm not a technician, and I'm also a second language. That's why I don't want to rephrase any of his points and stuff. This is just a highly summarized points. If you are interested, please refer to his original version for more accurate information. I had people approach me, said, I've been towing all my life. I didn't know you could do this. Qualification matters, for sure. Personally, I consider it as a good to know, but not a strong reasoning point. Many of you warned us that sales people don't know anything about towing. There's for sure some truth to it, and we experience our firsthand too. We've talked to various salesperson from different dealership. Eventually, we went with Cayman and their setup because strong argument, strong reasoning, in our opinion. As for qualification, Andy has RV industry background, car industry background. He was in SAE committee, and they have been specifically looking into the towing situation for 47 years. By looking into, questioning, analyzing, testing. They don't just about minivan tow everything. No, they're about tow vehicle and RV. They analyze various vehicles, different models, same with RV as well, and the combination of this car towing this RV. How does that work? I don't know if you noticed the footage, the short clips that I showed you, those test drives and stuff are those clips. Those are 20 years ago. They've done this for many, many years. Actually, they have a yearly test drive day where they set up different combinations, and you can go there to drive different cars, trucks or minivans and different combinations. This is it for today's video. Please consider subscribing to our channel. In this channel, we share everything that we love. If you're also into hiking, RVing, birding, food, and health and wellness, I'd love to have you join us. See you next week.